Good morning. It's Wednesday, January 7th, 2015. This is Tech Talk Today, episode 100 and lucky 13. My name is Chris, and yeah, you probably guessed it. This is day 2 of our CES 2015 coverage, and don't worry, it's not all the junk. It's just the good stuff. In fact, the stuff you might even possibly want to get your hands on. And to help me sort through all of that good stuff is our Mumble Room. Time-appropriate greetings, Mumble Room.
Hello.
Yo.
Hey, guys. Hello. Hey, let's start with what's got me kind of excited. You guys know I'm a fan of the Oculus. I've been a little disappointed with its implementation. I've been a little disappointed with how long it's been sort of in this weird state that it's in. And apparently, so is Razer. Razer is launching an open-source VR headset later this year. It's called OS VR, and you probably guessed it. It stands for Open Source Virtual Reality. Razer is releasing every detail of its virtual reality headset to the public, and they're going to even offer a hacker dev kit, which will include software and hardware, which, of course, you'd have to pay for. They say it'll enable developers and makers and other enterprising individuals to create their own versions of the VR set. Pretty neat. They say it should debut, as I like to say, between now and June. It, I guess, is not quite as all there as the Oculus set is. Like, the graphics aren't quite there yet. The screen isn't quite there yet. And on top of that, Oculus is showing off a new VR headset at CES that's supposed to be blowing people's minds, totally solving a lot of the last little straggler problems. One thing that the DK1 had for Oculus, the Developer 1 kit had, was a screen door effect. You know what I'm talking about, where you look at the screen and it looks like you're looking at the screen through a screen door. Because your face is so close to the screen, you can actually see, how the screen is made up. And as display technology gets better and better, Oculus is able to close that gap. And so they were showing off a new unit that closes that gap. Meanwhile, Razer's on the other side of CES, showing off a completely different approach, where it's here, take all of our secrets, take all of our stuff. It's a pretty obvious gamble. It's like the only other alternative when you have another heavyweight. But neither one of these companies is making a bunch of money. I don't know. I'm pretty excited about VR. Lionhead, what are your thoughts on VR? Would you pick up a Razer development kit if you got to say maybe picked it up for $150, $200 and you got full open source VR? Would that interest you?
Oh, absolutely. Having an open source alternative is nice, especially from a consumer standpoint, because that will make the Oculus team actually get their arse in gear and do something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they say that Razer, and I don't know if I totally agree because I think it takes a lot of work, but Razer says that Oculus has kept VR in prototype limbo state for way too long, and they can't take it anymore. So they're hoping the industry will blossom with this move, and they're going to build a foundation with OS VR. They say it's a lofty goal, but they hope it takes off. I do too. I was a VR skeptic. Here's what a VR skeptic I am. Okay, I went to PAX a couple of years in a row where they were demoing the Oculus, and every time, because we had cameras and microphones, they're always like, "Come on over, try out the VR, guys!" Like they literally will kick people off the VR headsets to let me try it because I got the camera and they want to get press coverage, right? And every time I've been like, no, I'm good. I'll see it one day. I don't need to. I'm good. I'm sure it's fine. I'm sure it's real neat. Then I got the DK2. Mind blown. It was one of those times where you try out a piece of technology and you go, oh, jeez, this is going to change everything. Once people start to see this, it's going to change everything. And that's really how I felt about the DK2. I felt like the DK2 wasn't quite there yet. This isn't quite there yet. But man, I am willing. I was so impressed. I'm willing to wait. While we're talking about Razer's not standing still with a open source VR headset. They're also unveiling a $100 Android-powered gaming console. They're calling it the Razer Forge TV. not to be confused with the Fire TV. No, this is the Razer Forge TV. It's called a micro console. Huh? How do you like that term? Micro console. 4x4 inches, selling for 100 bones. The company hopes you'll love it. It's going to have Android on there. It's also going to have quite a bit of horsepower. It's going to have a Qualcomm Snapdragon 805 quad-core CPU. It's going to have by the way, quad-core, 2.5 gigahertz per core. Hey-oh. Also a super high-end Arduino 420 GPU, 802.11n, 16 gigabytes of internal storage, 2 gigabytes of RAM. It's also, as you might expect, going to feature a lot of basic TV media functionality. I don't know if that means Netflix. I don't know if that means Plex. but they say it's going to also act as a TV hub, letting you stream music and videos and other apps to the television. You know what? TechCrunch has a video. Let's watch a little bit of it, see what they say.
This is the first announcement that we have. It's the Razer Forge TV. Essentially, anyone can use their gamepad, for example, to play the gamepad-enabled PC games, but we've got what we call the Razer Turret lap board. This unfolds right on your lap, so it's really compact.
Oh yeah, this is an interesting thing they're bringing. I think it's an accessory. So it's a keyboard that has a mouse pad that folds out from underneath it and snaps out to the side. It's all connected.
It's got a really nice mousing surface, and we've got a mouse that allows you to kind of go right to the edges of this. So it's actually a pretty big mousing surface. Now, what's also cool about it is that when you're sitting on the couch, you know, this is magnetized. So when your hand lifts off, you can be typing, and it's not going to slide off and be a bother.
I actually think that's kind of neat. So they're going to give you a controller. They're going to give you I think you have to buy the controller separately. I shouldn't say give. You're going to have a remote control that'll come with it, and you're also going to have this keyboard option. So Razer's trying to make Android into a full-fledged micro console.
I'm having flashbacks back to Google TV.
You think that's what Nighthawk? Is that what it smells like to you?
I mean, Google TV was okay, but it was lacking power. Maybe they've made up for the power in this one.
I mean, it sounds like they got a decent GPU and a quad core. The storage is pretty pathetic. 16 gigs, honestly, that's like 2-3 big games on Android if you get the big ones. After you figure there's going to be some space left to the OS. Like 16 gigs, you got to probably pull 2 off of that for the OS, right? So you've really got 14 to 10 gigs to work with. You can fill that up pretty quick with games, save states, and media. But we'll see.
Not to mention, with Android, you can run XBMC on it.
Yeah, or Plex if it's got Play, right? You could go get Plex on there or XBMC.
That's right, you can get Plex.
Yeah, that would be really sweet.
I really want that.
$100 is the right price point, too, because now essentially you've got something that's competing with the Fire TV, but maybe with even a little more horsepower.
They only want $100 for that?
Yeah, and they say it's going to ship in Q1 of this year.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
That may be worth it.
Yeah, I think so, too.
This might be my Rasplex replacement.
This could be my Roku replacement. It's really going to depend on, does it have Play services? So can I get the Plex app? How's that UI? How's the performance of that UI? And how expensive are these accessories? Are these accessories like $50? Are they half the price of the console? Probably. Right? So that's all questions we need worked out. But Razer, huh? Look at them. I mean, remember last year they had that awesome cooling PC they showed off, but that never made it to market. They're saying this is going to make it to market in Q1. So if it does, I might end up buying one to pick it up and give a review on the show. It kind of depends on what the overall pricing works out to be, but I was pretty impressed by it. All right, something else you can get your hands on, literally. Samsung is introducing a line of really kick-ass portable SSD drives. Yeah, portable SSD. Yeah, it looks really neat. So for 250 gigs, you can get at $180. 500 gigabyte SSD, you can get at $300. And a 1 terabyte external USB 3.0 SSD drive, 1 terabyte, $599.99, so $600.
So for $600, I can buy a 1 terabyte giant thumb drive.
Yeah, basically, it's a portable 1 terabyte SSD, USB 3.0, sequential read-write speeds of 450 megabytes per second, random read speeds of 8,000 IOPS as inputs and outputs per second, and a random writes of 21,000 IOPS. It's actually a pretty decent performing drive. So does it seem to you guys crazy to have an external SSD drive? Does that seem nuts?
No, not for me.
You know what? I was hoping you would say yes, because then I was going to be like, whatever, I bought one. Not this one. But for Ange, a while ago, for her Mac at home, she has an external FireWire 800 SSD. Now, there is no chance in hell that FireWire connection is capable of saturating that SSD drive, right? That SSD drive is essentially bottlenecked by the speed of the FireWire 800 connection. And that's fine. That isn't what we needed. What we wanted SSD for was like for right here with the random. Look at the random write speeds on like this drive here, 21,000 IOPS. Random read speed, 8,000 IOPS. Regardless of your overall transfer speed, just having performance there. So if you have a massive photo library, I'm talking like a 500 gigabyte plus photo library with a bunch of different metadata associated with every single picture, tags, comments, keywords, GPS location information. it really makes a difference having that on an external drive, and it could make a difference for doing backups. Like, there's a lot of reasons why you might want an external SSD. And I don't know about the pricing. $600 is still way too much for a terabyte. Just get because you can really get, if you don't need the speed, you can get easily probably spend $100 on a 1 terabyte external. So you could save almost $500 if you go with spinning drive. Almost, maybe.
Western Digital right now is selling a 2 terabyte for $109.
Whoa! There you go. Wow, that's even more dramatic of an example.
But there is one thing that the SSD is actually more durable. If you have an external spinning drive, you have the risk of, well, destroying it quite easily.
Yeah, and if I was back in my contracting days and I'm throwing stuff in my bag and I'm on the go, I feel a little bit better about a solid-state drive throwing it out of my bag 10 times a day than I do a spinning spindle drive.
Oh, absolutely.
So there's that too. It's all about that speed. I wish it wasn't USB though. That's the one thing. Okay, I'm starting to drool a little bit. I've never been super blown away by the XPS line of laptops from Dell. I've always felt like they had a big border around the screen, that they weren't exactly cooled the best, and it was a good design, it was really close, but it never quite just hit the nail on the head for me. That might all be changing. Dell at CES introduced a new XPS 13 with, I'm going to agree with The Verge's headline, a stunning edge-to-edge LCD touchscreen display. So they've managed, because it's edge-to-edge, they've managed to fit a 13-inch display in essentially what it looks like to the average user 11-inch housing. So Dell's calling it the thinnest 13-inch laptop ever built. That'll ship with this 13.3-inch infinity display is what they're calling it. It has a 5.2 millimeter bezel, so there you go. Previous XPS models have always had an impressively small bezel, of course. I didn't think so, but they were pretty small. Pretty small. This, no bezel. No bezel at all. But here's the best part. Dat resolution. 3,200 by 1,800. That's a huge-ass resolution because the previous XPS, the real killer about the previous XPS, it was 1366 by 768. So now you're going up to 3,200 by 1,800, right? That's a massive jump. And here's another good part. Dell's claiming that you're going to be able to get 15 hours of battery life out of this laptop. 2.6 pounds. 2.8 pounds if you get the touchscreen version. Smallest 13-inch laptop, 15 hours of battery life, edge-to-edge display. It's probably going to run Linux great, too. It comes right now, of course, with Windows. And in fact, Dell says that they worked closely with Microsoft to ensure the best trackpad experience on any Windows laptop. I don't know what that means. Hopefully it means it works fine under Linux, too. But yeah, there you go. So the Dell has launched a new XPS. There's been a lot of gear. Drones, so far, have had a really good showing. I'll see if maybe I can do a roundup of some of the drone stories in tomorrow's Tech Talk today, because drones are getting quite a good showing. 4K, obviously, is getting a fantastic showing. That's a given. And if you want to help me round up some of these stories, techtalktoday.reddit.com, you can go over there and submit them. So what do you guys think? Is this Dell laptop enough to sort of draw you back into the Dell hardware store? Anybody willing to buy a Dell, dude?
They did kind of lose me a while back, but I don't know, maybe.
All right.
I was stuck on ThinkPads, but
let's say it's built really well. Let's say it's built really well. Let's say the screen's really well. Do you still have to go ThinkPad?
I wasn't impressed by the last ThinkPads at all, so this is definitely sounding very nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, go ahead, Lane.
Well, I had a Dell that I bought in 2010, and I was pretty happy with it running Linux, and it ran fantastically. And if this can get the same kind of performance on Linux, I would definitely give it another look for maybe a purchase.
So here's two downsides for me. Assuming the price was right and I was in the market, I don't know what the video is. I'm betting it's Intel. That might be okay. And the other thing is I think it's fixed at 8 gigabytes of RAM. No more RAM than that. So that's a bit disappointing. But otherwise, I was surprised to see Dell pull it out. In fact, you know what? We got a little extra time. Let's watch The Verge's video on it. They've got some good videos. They've been doing
This is Tom Warren with The Verge.
By the way, if you're really hardcore into this stuff, they've been doing some great summary videos of the keynotes at The Verge. So here you go. Here's Tom, and he's taking a look at the XPS.
And we're looking at Dell's latest XPS 13. Essentially, it's an upgraded version of the same laptop that Dell's been selling for a couple of years now. What's really noticeable here is the thin bezels on this 13-inch display. It's an edge-to-edge display. They're calling it Infinity display. It's Sharp's IGZO panel, and literally it goes right to the end. So so Dell's actually claiming this is the smallest 13-inch laptop on the market. So not the lightest or the thinnest, but the smallest. On the display, you've got a 3200 by 1800 display, so it's a QHD resolution, which also means, obviously, if you've got Windows installed on here, you can get up to 3 apps alongside each other.
I love that's the state of Windows. You can have a 3200 by 1800 display, and you can fit 3 apps. Love it. Oh, Windows 8, you're so adorable.
Which is kind of useful on a small display like this. So really the display is the main thing, but also on this laptop you got the backlit keyboard, which is kind of standard, you'd expect, but Dell's actually shipping a precision trackpad on here, which essentially is something that Dell and Microsoft have worked together on just to make the trackpad a little bit more responsive in Windows, and it feels pretty great. I mean, most Windows trackpads aren't that great, but this one does feel fairly responsive. And just sort of playing around with it briefly here, it does feel pretty good.
What I was hoping he would mention was the graphics card in the video. Sometimes they'll put additional details in there. So if anybody out there in the audience knows, maybe leave a comment. I'd be really curious. That seems like the deal breaker for that one, maybe, and the cost, of course. We'll see. But yeah, good for Dell. Edge-to-edge displays, looking real nice, and if it's all Intel throughout, it'll probably run Linux just great as well. Yeah. There you go. So that's what caught my eye yesterday and today at CES. I'm going to be watching it all day, and we'll talk more tomorrow. It kind of feels like the best of the best might be done. I don't know. We'll see if CES has the stamina to keep our interest for the rest of the week. If they don't, we'll just go back to regular tech news. If they do, I'll share what's the best. Hey, I want to mention something that's also the best, your support, over at patreon.com/today. Help fund the long-term plans of the Jupiter Broadcasting Network over at patreon.com/today. Become an investor, 425 of you have, and now you get access to our exclusive Patreon goodies, but also you get the satisfaction of knowing that you're keeping Jupiter Broadcasting a little weird. You're our boss, we report to you, and you really do truly make a difference. In fact, pretty soon, probably starting around next week, you'll hear about a new way that the folks at the Patreon page are funding some awesome developments at Jupiter Broadcasting. Probably pretty soon, you're going to hear an announcement, and you can get it on that patreon.com/today. Thank you, everybody, for supporting the network. Also, I would be remiss if I didn't mention that from time to time, you can get yourself a smile on over at Jupiter Broadcasting's Instagram page, instagram.com/Jupiter Broadcasting. Speaking of our patrons, the Unfiltered Swag patrons just got a brand new bacon mug. That's right. If you're in the Unfiltered Supporter Swag Club, we just sent out a thank you to those members with a Conspiracy Bacon Jupiter Broadcasting travel mug. And yes, if you're listening to the audio version, it looks as epic as it sounds. You can have bacon on your cup now. Also, SMB and FLA sent in an awesome batch of beer to JBHQ as a holiday present, New Year's present. And he's awesome. He did this last year, too, and it's just a great set of beers. You can see the beers he sent in to the studio on our Instagram page, as well as some swag and things like that. Instagram.com/Jupiter Broadcasting. Just a great place to get your smile on. Not that I'm some big social network fan, but out of all of them, I think Instagram's the one I like. There are those other ones. Take them or leave them. All right, Mumble Room, anything from CES that caught your attention before we run? Anything anybody wants to give a shout-out for? Going once. Going twice. Really? Not even like a drone? Nothing? All right, fair enough. Well, keep your eyes out for stuff, and if you see it after the show, go over to the subreddit, techtalktoday.reddit.com. Hey, so let's wrap it up with a great retro commercial. We were just talking about that new awesome Dell laptop. Well, don't forget, Samsung used to make a mighty mean laptop, and after seeing this ad, you might have picked out your new rig. See you tomorrow, everybody. Thanks for joining us.
Are space people going to take me away? Are space people going to take me away?
Some people worry about things that'll probably never happen, while other people worry about things that could very well happen.
Is my new computer going to be outdated in 6 months?
Not with the new Samsung Notemaster. Its unique CPU can be easily replaced, so you can keep updating and stop worrying.
Are space people coming to take me and my computer away?